Hey, business building warrior. If you've been in our community very long at all, you've heard me talk about the fact that Amazon has hundreds of warehouses in the United States alone with millions of products that are currently, right now, today, as I'm recording this, as you're listening, they are underserved ASINs, underserved listings. They are understocked. They do not have enough inventory. And I'm going to prove it today. I'm going to show you how we find those ASINs in our community, some of the great recent changes to our favorite tool for researching Amazon opportunity, and how you can begin to use those yourself. This is Silent Sales Machine Radio. My name is Jim Cockram. We were recently voted, if you didn't realize it, I've mentioned it several times, so maybe you've heard me say it, but I apologize in advance. We're very proud of the fact, recently voted the #1 podcast for Amazon sellers in the industry. That was third-party voting across the industry. Super proud of that achievement. We've got a great team putting these episodes together, great content and ideas always floating to the top in our Facebook group. And we just love sharing the strategies and ideas completely openly, transparently. We hold nothing back on this show. I want to give you everything you need to know today. If you're my best friend from high school and we're reconnecting, you say, Jim, tell me about this. I'm going to tell you everything that I would tell that guy. Let's get into it. All right. So the best place to start perhaps is to visualize a map of the United States. And if you've heard me go through this before, I'm not going to apologize because I think I get slightly better at presenting it each time with different illustrations and new exciting ways to identify all this underserved shelf space that we're always talking about and some of the new features in software that are available to help us find it. So you may have heard some of this before, but let me set it up and hopefully bring even more clarity to the opportunity and the scope of the opportunity on Amazon for resellers selling everyday boring items that are easily sourced, full price, full retail price, and you're going to be able to make a profit with these items. How do you do that? Can you still do that? I thought there was too much competition now, Jim. No, every day on Amazon, millions of people who live near some of the warehouses, these hundreds of warehouses spread out across the United States, are hopping online and hoping that Amazon has a unit of whatever it is they're looking for in the warehouse closest to them so they can get it quickly. Because if they can't get it quickly, due to poor planning, busy schedules, whatever, they're going to have to get in their car and drive to Walmart 1, Walmart 2, Target, Kroger, hopefully somebody has it, waste half their Saturday looking for this $42 item that they would gladly pay someone $60 for if they could just get it to them within a couple hours or maybe by tomorrow morning. People use Amazon that way all day, every day. Now, for some reason, I can't explain. If I was in charge of Amazon for a single day, this might be one of the changes that I would make. It's a simple change. Amazon does not accommodate those shoppers very well at all. The people who are in a hurry, they just don't accommodate them. It's a simple change that Amazon could make to begin accommodating shoppers like me, my wife, you, people, busy people in your life, would be to allow me to sort not just by price. It's interesting to see what the lowest price is. Maybe I could wait 2 weeks and save $8. Thanks for pointing that out, Amazon. I don't want to just see the lowest price options, though. I want to see the fastest speed of delivery option as well. Amazon doesn't share that information with us unless you scroll through. Let's say there's 50 sellers on a fast-moving product on Amazon right now. You can find those. The most popular items, it's not unheard of for them to have 100 or 200 or more sellers selling the exact same item. Wouldn't it be nice? Hello, Amazon, I'm talking to you right now. Wouldn't it be nice if you could sort by delivery date? Well, you can't. Have you ever tried? You can't. It's ridiculous. It's unexplainable why they don't allow you to sort by delivery speed. Is it possible for me to get this thing within 2 hours? I don't care what the buy box is. I don't care what Amazon thinks is the best price among all these 200 sellers. I could care less. I want speed. Now, not all shoppers shop that way. Some people are perfectly willing to get in their car and drive 2 hours across town to save 25 cents a gallon on gas. Some people shop that way. They're all about the price. They could care less about the math involved, the wear and tear on the car, the wasted time. They don't care about speed at all. They just want the lowest price. I know those people are out there. Those are the people that typically will drift to the buy box. And that's the only time they'll ever buy anything on Amazon is if there's a buy box and that's the lowest price. And then they'll buy. I don't know what percentage of shoppers shop that way, but I can tell you this, a huge percentage of people could care less about those details. They want fast delivery. They will pay more for it. And you can think of times in your life where you've needed something fast Happens all the time around here in our house. Hey, we got people coming over at 6 p.m. It's noon. Does Amazon have that thing? Can they get it here in 2 hours? Oh, thankfully they can. Do we price sensitively compare to all the other sellers at that point? No, we do not. Here's a more important factor. Does that sale where we spent, say, $20 more than we had to, does that sale show up as a data point anywhere besides on the seller's, obviously the seller's data, the person who sold it? But no, it doesn't. It doesn't show up on Keepa. You have no way of knowing what people are paying for the ASINs that you're selling against right now. You know those crazy people who hang out at the high end of all the ASINs that you're on? You know, everyone's in the, let's give an example. Everyone's in the mud, playing in the buy box at say $20 to $22, trying to win the buy box, bouncing around, trying to fight. And there's this crazy dude up here at $37. You're like, hey, everyone else is at 20 and 22. Why are you up there at $37? What are you thinking? No one's ever going to buy it for 37. Well, what he could be thinking is he's selling 2 or 3 units a month to busy people who happen to live in a warehouse near where his inventory is sitting. And he's perfectly happy to make an extra $15 of margin more than you are per sale. Selling only a few a month, that's fine. He doesn't need to sell 50 a day, knowing that at any given time, someone could come in and sell on that same ASIN for, $10 because Amazon went and bought 50,000 units, creating havoc for everyone who owns a few hundred units, but not for our $37 guy who only has 3 or 4 units sitting in a few random warehouses waiting for busy people to say, oh, wow, I can get it in a couple hours. Cool, I'm going to grab that guy's inventory. So he's making better margins. He's living a slower pace. He's taking fewer risks. He's easily replenishing his inventory as things sell. What a beautiful model. There's no downside to it that we've discovered. There's a lot of people starting to use that model. I'm not against winning the buy box. I'm not against going in deep if you get a good discount and you know the risks associated with that model. But what I'm saying is it's just not necessary to take big risks, to go get a bunch of inventory, to seek out the lowest prices. Let's go back to my illustration. Amazon's hundreds of warehouses. The people who live near those warehouses that are spread out across the country, when they shop on Amazon, they have a choice. They can either shop all of Amazon's warehouses, meaning they're willing to wait as long as it takes to get the best price, or they can shop the one warehouse near them, which suddenly means the only sellers you're competing with, if you have inventory sitting in that warehouse near a shopper, are the other sellers who might have inventory sitting in that warehouse. Here's where the odds tip in your favor. If you learn how to search Amazon for products that are just understocked in general, fast-moving products that don't have a lot of FBA sellers, you can ignore the merchant-fulfilled sellers entirely with this strategy. They don't count. A merchant-fulfilled seller could literally live across the street from you, and it's going to take them 3 or 4 days to get the product to you. If that same product was sitting in Amazon's warehouse 10 miles away, it could be on your front porch in 2 hours. But the merchant-fulfilled seller can't compete with speed. They just can't. So you're only looking at fast-moving ASINs that have inadequate FBA coverage, meaning there's just not enough sellers sending inventory to Amazon's warehouses. If you hop on those ASINs at a nice high price, you're going to find some fun things happening in your account. Worst case scenario is, because they're fast-moving ASINs, you drop your price down, you get rid of your inventory fairly easily, you break even, maybe lose a couple dollars per unit. Who cares? You only bought 3 to 5 units anyway. Break even or lose a couple bucks, no big deal. But you're going to get those occasional hits of people who grabbed it because they wanted speed. And it's going to start the wheels turning in the direction that our wheels have been turning for a couple of years now for this particular strategy. Sometimes people get confused and think, oh, Jim is all about just this one strategy because he's talking about it so much. No, I love all the strategies. I love eBay. I love Walmart. I love winning the buy box. I love buying a pallet and saving 40% and selling it over the next 6 months at a great discount. I love having wholesale relationships. I love helping brands find their presence on Amazon. I get paid to do all of these things. But the general audience of our listening community, the vast majority of sellers, and I would say 99% of sellers in other communities outside of our podcast and our Facebook group, our events, that sort of thing, they are completely clueless about this massive opportunity that even Amazon itself, for some reason, won't even nod its head towards. I mean, Jeff Bezos himself in 2020 wrote a letter to shareholders. If you haven't read it, go back and read it. Incredible for many, many different reasons. I feel like I could write a little book about that shareholder letter. Beautifully crafted letter. Whether you're a Bezos fan or not, I could care less. Go read that letter. He talks about saving Amazon shoppers 120, I think it was 130 billion, something like that, and just saved time, not having to get in their car, drive to the store. And he's not talking about wear and tear and gas. He's just talking about $10 per hour was his baseline, which is a ridiculously low number. If your value of your time is only $10 an hour, it's you're a teenager living in your mom's basement, still playing video games. Maybe that guy's worth $10 an hour time. Everyone else, the rest of us, your time better be worth a whole lot more than that to you. But he used that as a baseline. He saved Americans 120, 130 billion dollars in 2020, single year. Just the convenience of shopping. What he's not factoring in, what Amazon is not paying attention to, though, is they could be accommodating and playing into that. Instead of trying to be the low price on everything you could ever need if you're willing to wait a week, they could be saying, hey, we're that, and we're the solution where if you're willing to pay a little bit more, we can get it to you really fast. What ends up happening far too often, though, is sellers race to the bottom. They fight for the buy box. They all get their prices tucked down this tight little window and don't realize that customers would have been willing to pay so much more than they did for ASINs that were delivered to them quickly. So if someone had just kept their prices high, they'd be making steady sales, making great margins. But instead, the sellers all played in the mud. You don't have to play in the mud with all the other sellers trying to win the buy box. You can go high on underserved ASINs. And there's some creative new strategies, new tools, I should say, that are available to you in your tool belt through Keepa that we asked for and they gave us. And there's more that we're asking for as well to kind of give you a peek into the future of what we hope starts to happen next to really pull back the curtains on these underserved ASINs. So let's talk about some of these changes at Keepa. Now, I don't want to lose you if you don't know what Keepa is. So go listen to podcast episode 369 if you've never heard that episode. And that's where I go through what Keepa is, why we love it, what it does, the bare basics of it. It does things that no other tool can do. And I break down why for many, many years it's been the go-to tool. Now, no one has referred more users, to my knowledge, to Keepa, which is $20 a month, silentjim.com/Keepa, Keepa. Keep with an A on the end, Keepa. You want the paid version. The free version, completely useless. Paid version, the most intensely beneficial tool ever available to Amazon sellers. Hands down, bar none, nothing else comes close. If any other tool is of extreme value to sellers, it's because they've got the Keepa API and they've integrated a lot of Keepa data into their tool, and they probably mark it up a lot to do that. Learn Keepa. It keeps getting better. And one of the reasons it keeps getting better is because, like I said, we've referred a whole bunch of users to Keepa, and we've sent them some suggestions. I've personally sent them 2 suggestions. I'm in the process of sending them a 3rd, and they've implemented the first 2, and I think they're going to implement the 3rd as well when we drop this on them. And it's going to really start to help you as a reseller find and identify and serve the underserved shelf space at Amazon. Let me give you a couple of examples. Let's go back to that map of the United States, the hundreds of warehouses spread out everywhere. It's important for you to keep that in mind, because I think the default mode for our minds as sellers is to shrink back into that little box of, I got to be the best price or I'm not going to win any sales. That may be true for many shoppers on Amazon. They're looking for the best price. Yes, there's many shoppers that think that way. They're willing to wait. Remember the people who drive across town to save 50 cents on gas? Yeah, or even 20 cents on gas. They're going to wait 5 days, 7 days, 12 days if they have to for the best price. They're going to ignore that price that's $2 or $3 more that they could have in 2 hours. There's people who shop that way, but there's just as much as there's people who shop that way, there's a whole bunch of people, and Amazon could tell us anytime they want to, but they won't. I don't know why they won't. Amazon, please give us the data that we need to help fill your underserved shelf space. You're tying our hands behind our back in many ways, but resellers are very creative. We're full of ingenuity. We come up with solutions. If Amazon's not going to help us, we're going to dig around and find these answers ourselves. And we're starting to find some extremely creative, fun ways to identify the underserved shelf space at Amazon, where you can go in, ignore all the people fighting over the buy box, come in nice and high, and make steady sales. So what are the fields that help you do that on Keepa? Well, Keepa has always been a very valuable tool, and not to dig too deep into what they do, but they basically scrape Amazon and get all kinds of data that Amazon just doesn't share publicly with anyone else. So they've got a great timeline of the history. And once you see the timeline and the history of any given ASIN or listing on Amazon, you can start to make some conclusions about that ASIN and decide if it's one worth risking your capital on to invest in. Some of the news changes that have been made recently, thanks to suggestions from myself, from our community, talked about with our leaders, and I correspond with them. One of them is called the OOS, out of stock. Is Amazon out of stock? Now, they've always shared this number with us as a percentage, like saying 97% of the time Amazon was in stock in the last 30 days on this product. Okay, that's helpful. But the suggestion I made and that they implemented was, hey, how about if you told us how many times Amazon ran out of stock? Because if they just ran out once for one day over the last 90 days, and you're telling me that's a 98%, let's say, rate, where Amazon's in stock, that's not as interesting to me. Whereas, let's say they're in stock 95% of the time, but they've run out 14 times in the last 3 months. Like, they're running out every few days, not for long, but they're running out a lot. Hey, I might want to hop on that one and sit at a nice high price, because when Amazon runs out of stock and they're, buying 10,000 units at a time and they're selling them for below my cost, when Amazon runs out of stock, guess what happens? Whether the buy box goes up there or not, people are willing and excited to pay a whole lot more money. And I can be sitting there selling a few per month every time Amazon runs out. And I can find those ASINs that are underserved, where there's just not enough inventory in Amazon's hundreds of warehouses to meet the demand of the people who want the product quickly and they're willing to pay for it, which is millions of shoppers. So that's one field, OOS. It's not the percentage of time that Amazon was out of stock again. It's the number of times. It counts the gaps in Amazon's, how many times did Amazon go to zero in the last 30 days, in the last 60 days, in the last 90 days? How many times did they go to zero on this ASIN? It gives you that number. Pretty cool, right? We didn't have that until a few months ago. Now we do. It's a great way to search and find underserved shelf space. Another one that I got really excited about, and it took a little work to explain to them, and it takes a little work to explain to you, but you do not have to be a math nerd. Do not be intimidated by the phrase that was chosen for this metric. I can keep it pretty simple, I think. And by the way, before I jump into the second example, there's a link in the show notes today, silentjim.com/BB70. Weird link, I know. I apologize. I didn't know it was going to blow up and be as popular as it is. I was trying to come up with 70 examples from my own Amazon account where we're selling products above buy box and then we're getting great margins. I ended up coming up with 200 examples and I stopped. I just stopped. I'm not going to do this every few days. I'm not going to do this every day. But I made 200 examples of ASINs, and you can see the charts. You can see the Keepa graphs. What was I looking for? Why did I make the decision? I don't tell you which product it is, but I do show you the Keepa chart so you can get used to the process of recognizing these great above buy box opportunities. At that link, silentjim.com/BB70, you'll be prompted to join our Facebook group if you're not in there yet. And it's just a discussion post with an ongoing discussion. Many examples, a lot of questions, ongoing conversations about those examples. I'm going to stick a link to some of the resources I'm talking about today in that post. I'm always adding new information to it, including videos on why I'm excited about the standard deviation field. There's a video there, how to use it, introducing it to the community. And that's the second thing I want to tell you about. I told you about out of stock. Now I want to talk to you about standard deviation. Now, that's a nerdy word. If you didn't do well in high school math, don't worry, you're going to be okay. Don't start sweating because I mentioned a statistical term. I'm going to tell you exactly what it means and why it's so powerful and how you can use it without being a math nerd. You don't need to be a math nerd. You could struggle using a calculator to add up, 3-digit numbers, and you can still understand what I'm about to say. Okay, so hang with me. The reason I like this standard deviation is because it basically shows us how bouncy the buy box is. Do you know what I mean by that? Have you ever looked at a Keepa chart? And for those who haven't, you'll eventually be looking at them as part of our community. You're going to know what I'm talking about. But there's this orange line that represents the current buy box for an ASIN over time. So Keepa, the software we're talking about, looks every day at about 1 billion ASINs in the United States. It would take us 32 years just to look at each of them for 1 second each. But they look at hundreds of millions of ASINs every day and plot points of data. What a boring job that would be, right? But over time, they're painting a picture. And on many things, it looks like a heart monitor. The price was here, then the price was there. The rank was here, then the rank was there. There was 20 sellers today, then 25 sellers the next day, then 18 sellers the next day. This many were FBM, this many were FBA, right? It's just plotting all these points. So you can go back and kind of see what's up with this ASIN and decide if it's one you want to hop on or not, because you've got some historical data that Amazon doesn't give you for some reason. They could make a killing if they would, but they don't. I don't know why. Side note, it's almost like Amazon says, hey, sellers, do a really good job selling to our customers, but we're not going to give you any of the data we got that would help you do a much better job of it. Come on, dude. Rely on third-party sites to scrape? Okay, we'll still pull it off. We've still created loads of millionaires, beautiful businesses, even though you won't give us the data that wouldn't hurt anyone. Amazon would make more money. Customers would be happier. Sellers would have an easier time finding the inventory they need if you would just tell us which of your warehouses are understocked. What's the harm in telling us that? But they don't, right? Okay, that's fine, Amazon. We'll figure it out on our own. So let's get back to our standard deviation example. Hang with me here. So the example I use when explaining standard deviation, and you'll grasp it forever after this if you don't know what it is. For those of you who know what it is, I apologize. Very simplistic example, but it makes the point. Let's say my wife and I, we were on an airplane yesterday. And the pilot came on and he actually said, hey, we're cruising along at about 15,000 feet. Feel free to get up, walk around the cabin. Everything's comfortable, safe. Should be a smooth ride all the way home. 15,000 foot average trip, right? After takeoff, and let's take off the end of the trip, the start and the finish. We're cruising at 10,000 or 15,000 feet. Let's say the whole trip, 15,000 feet. That's an average height of 15,000 feet. Would you agree if we stayed at that height the whole time? Easy to do that math, right? Well, what if instead we'd had a pilot who'd had a few too many drinks that morning and we still had an average flight of 15,000 feet? You'd think, oh, yeah, that's fine, right? Average is an average. Well, no, he was bouncing between 5,000 and 20,000 the whole time, up and down and up and down. Like we went from 5 to 20 back and forth. And we averaged at the end. He's like, hey, Cap, what's the complaint? We averaged 15,000 feet. Why is everyone complaining? Well, it's because we were so off of the standard, the median. We were so far up and so far down. The standard deviation was 8,000 feet, right? We were moving up and down. So a standard deviation just shows you how far off of the normal are you moving. So when we're looking at a buy box line, that's this orange line on a Keepa graph of what the buy box is right now. I'm not going to nerd out too much about buy box because it's only one zip code that Keepa is able to look at. We don't know which zip code it is. The buy box is different all over the country at any given time. But by looking at the line that Keepa does form, we can see how bouncy is that buy box. The mathematical term for how bouncy we are, let's say it's swinging from $10 up to 40, then back down to 18, then back up to 52, then back down to 16. That's a bouncy buy box. It can't figure out where it wants to settle. Those bouncy buy boxes are gold. Why is that gold? Why would you, just pause here and think through? Why would I be more excited to see a bouncy buy box with a high standard deviation as opposed to one that was $15 3 months ago? Every day since, it's been $15 and it's never budged an inch. The buy box has been nice and steady. Now, I don't know for a fact that there aren't any sellers selling for more than that, but I do know for a fact that most of the sales are going for about that price, especially if there's only a few sellers and I look at their prices and look at the price history of those sellers. Yeah, there's no one selling it for more than $15. That's a flat line ace. Unless I can make money at $15, I'm probably going to stay away. But what if I see this bouncy, crazy buy box going all over the place? Well, now I get excited. How can I search Amazon to find bouncy buy boxes? There wasn't a good way to do it until about a week and a half ago when I was able to communicate to to Keepa what it is we're trying to go for here. And they gave us the standard deviation field and they gave us a flippability scale to go along with it that helps identify those ASINs that are bouncing so much that if you can buy them low, maybe even from Amazon itself, you can flip it and sell it high, which, by the way, we've got some great A2A content coming soon for our community. We've got someone killing it doing Amazon to Amazon. That's A2A, Amazon to Amazon flips. You can buy from Amazon using a separate business account. Never use your Prime account. Only buy from Amazon as the seller, not a third-party seller. You could have ASINs where Amazon's a seller and there's 18 other sellers. You do not want to buy from any of those other 18 sellers. You only buy from Amazon. Good news, Amazon's typically the lowest price anyway. So you're buying from them on these bouncy buy box ASINs. Buy low, sell high, make your flips. You following me? You can build a real system around that. We've got people on our team who've done that. We're putting together some content right now to really drill into that A to A. There's some people, that's all they do is A to A. Or maybe Amazon to Walmart, Walmart to Amazon, that sort of thing. Pretty exciting stuff. But right now I'm talking about that new standard deviation field. If you go into Keepa Product Finder, you can see it right there. You got to have the paid version of Keepa. You get into Keepa Product Finder, and you can just do a keyword search for standard deviation. There it is. And now you can see not just what was the average buy box price, that's of some interest. Anyone with even a basics understanding of statistics will tell you averages are useless numbers. They really are. They don't tell even a portion of the story. You got to know the standard deviation. How bouncy was that flight? Okay, so you averaged 10,000 feet coming all the way home on your airplane. That's great. What's the standard deviation? Were you bouncing up and down the whole time? Or was it smooth sailing? Only the standard deviation can tell you that. The average can't tell you. So that's what we love, that new field and the bouncy buy boxes. We're still figuring out what these bouncy buy boxes mean with complete clarity, but it helps identify so many opportunities. Again, use your imagination. If the price is all over the place, you can buy low, sell high, sell above that buy box line, knowing that that line's all over the place. Well, the other thing that we're excited to be talking to Keepa about, this is pulling back the curtain. Maybe they're listening to our podcast and we're going to be talking to them about it. We're super excited about it, is the In-Stock Head Start program. Now, you've heard Rob and Joy talk about it in a recent podcast episode. Brian and Rob and Joy talked a little bit about this concept. That's basically the fact that on some ASINs, not all of them, but on many of the most popular ASINs, what Amazon will do is put the product up for sale as soon as the seller has dropped it off at UPS. So Amazon knows the product's on the way. They'll put it up for sale Prime. Have you ever noticed, and here's how you can know this is happening. When you've been shopping for something and you're using your Prime discount, let's say, right? So you're looking and you're thinking, okay, everything should be like a day or two delivery, right? I'm using Prime. Come on, it's going to get here fast, right? But you look at all the Prime offers and it's like 6 days, 8 days, 2 weeks. Like, why is it going to take Amazon 2 weeks to give me a product that's Prime? I thought Prime meant fast now. Well, what's happening is the sellers who are sending their products to Amazon for that particular ASIN, for that listing, they just dropped it in the box today at the UPS. And it's going to take 3 or 4 days for that box to get to the warehouse. And Amazon pads the numbers a little bit. It's going to take them a week to unpack it, to make sure everything's there. They don't want to oversell, so they may only put, let's say the seller's sending 50 units to Amazon. They're going to put 20 or 30 of those units into the Head Start program, meaning people can start buying them now. Because they know if the seller says 50, there's probably at least 30, right? So Amazon's doing that kind of math in their head and saying, let's go ahead and put it up for sale, knowing we can't get it there fast, but it'll get there when it gets there. It's on the way. We've got some. It's certainly better than having zeros. Sorry, we're out of stock. And we don't have any until the package arrives and Amazon looks it over and checks it in and puts it on the shelf. And then they go, boom, we got 50 suddenly. They don't do that. On the fastest moving ASINs, on I would say millions of ASINs are doing this. As soon as the seller puts it in a box and says, hey, Amazon, it's on the way, Amazon lists it for sale on Prime. Pretty cool program. But if you don't understand the impact that it has on seller mentality, that's you and me, you're going to miss out on a lot of opportunity. On these ASINs, which we're actively working with Keepa to help us more easily identify, it's not just a matter of being out of stock. There's a lot of worthless ASINs that are out of stock, right? It's out of stock because no one buys it, no one makes it, no one sells it. You can't have it anymore. So just looking for out of stock doesn't necessarily help you. We need more than that. We're working with Keepa to be able to identify these ASINs more easily than we currently can. There's some ways you can do it, but right now it's kind of a matter of kind of scrolling through a little bit. We're going to hopefully come up with some ways that Keepa will be able to quickly say, yep, here's all the ASINs right now that have nothing in the Prime window, meaning you can't get it in a day or two. You got to wait more than that to get this product. Those are opportunities for a high price. Do you follow my logic? Because many customers are going to be willing to wait. No, I don't want to pay an extra $15 to get it here today or tomorrow. I'm going to wait. That's a lot of customers, but there's a lot of customers that will say, oh, wow, there's a unit sitting in FBA that I can have, tomorrow by 2 p.m. Yeah, I want that one. I don't care that it's 15, 20, 30 more dollars than the rest. I don't want to wait 3, 4, 5 days. If you can find the ASINs, they're not just out of stock, but they've got a lot of other sellers in the inventory Head Start program. Those are ASINs that you want to hop on. And we're working with Keepa right now, sending the email today to try to get them to incorporate that field into the Keepa product finder as well to help us identify those. So on today's episode alone, I've given you 3, but we've got dozens. There's so many ways. I would argue we've probably passed 100 different ways to use Keepa at this point to find test-worthy inventory, to find inventory where you can win at buy box. That's great. We love those. I love winning the buy box and winning sales. Who doesn't? But what if you could open up millions more ASINs that are worth your time, worth your investment, where your worst case scenario is you get your money back and you've completely dramatically lowered your risk on those ASINs because you're only selling a few units at a time at great profits. We love that strategy too. We love wholesale. We love Walmart. We love eBay. We love all the strategies. But what we don't want you to do is spin in circles trying to find opportunity everywhere, accomplishing nothing. We want you to bolt down to one strategy. And if you're past the newbie stage, if you're past the point where you understand that you shouldn't just be scanning barcodes, you shouldn't be sourcing from Alibaba, trying to sell stuff from China, putting it on your own white label, right? You've learned all those painful lessons. You've paid attention. Like, okay, I want to get on the path here. You'd be crazy not to be taking a look at ASINs that are underserved and putting a nice high price on those ASINs and waiting for those things to sell for you. And one of the things we're excited about right now is that Head Start, Amazon's inventory Head Start program. If you can hop on those ASINs, which you can find them right now, it's not that hard. You probably encounter them while you're shopping. If you can hop on those ASINs with a few high price point units of inventory, your odds of making some good sales, pretty high. Some nice margin, high profit sales. And you're not winning the buy box. If you can learn to start ignoring the buy box for a lot of your Amazon research, you're going to be so far ahead of the game because every day, millions of shoppers are paying way less than they were willing to for inventory that will arrive well after the customer would have been willing to pay to get it there. And if you can meet that unmet need, man, I sure wish Amazon would help us meet that unmet need, but they're not giving us a lot of help. But that just makes the opportunity bigger for the rest of us. That means those of us who understand how to use tools like Keepa and help fill that underserved shelf space, man, you got a wide open opportunity. I had the privilege of having a conversation, it's been a few years back, with a senior vice president at Amazon. And I had the privilege, I had lunch with him. He asked me, he said, Jim, if you were in charge of Amazon for a day, what changes might you make? One of the things that he said leading up to that question, I'm not going to tell you my answer. I've shared it in the past. Maybe that's a cliffhanger. If you want, ask me sometime. Come to one of our Monday lives and I'll share the answer if you haven't heard that story before. But one of the other things that he shared with me was, he said, you resellers, he knew I represented a large reselling community and one of the louder voices in the reselling arena. You resellers help fill our shelf space so much better than we ever could. You guys are so much better at mitigating the risk, meeting the demand. Like, we don't have the logistical capacity to even try to do what you guys do. We don't want to do what you guys do. How do you do it? I wish I could massage that relationship to the point where they were giving us more of the data that we need. They have it. Amazon has all the data, but they just don't share a whole lot of it. They don't share which warehouses are sitting empty at any given time for the most popular items. They don't give me the option to say, oh, wow, I've got 8 units. I want to send one to Chicago. I want to send one here. I want to send one to this warehouse without charging me an arm and a leg to do it because I'm meeting the underserved shelf space. I'm meeting the needs of the communities that don't have the units that they need. Amazon's own AI is pretty good at distributing inventory. They do it themselves. You don't have to worry about it. Some people are grateful you don't have to worry about it. I would like to have that option. I think we will at some point. It only makes sense to me that we will at some point. I'm kind of prognosticating. I have no insight, that Amazon's intending to give us that power, but it makes sense to me. Let me take the risk and send my inventory where I think it's going to sell the fastest. Let me do that. Let me pick up the risk on that so I can market high, meet demand, make customers happy. They get it in 2 hours instead of waiting 4 days. Let me do that. But for now, the best we have is Keepa. We have these incredible fields that tilt the odds in your favor of a busy shopper buying your inventory and paying way more than buy box for it and being grateful that you helped save them a whole bunch of time during their busy day. That's how people shop on Amazon. Some people still make a shopping list and fill it out, and they have all 50 items, and they do the research, and they clip their coupons, and they go to Walmart and Target and Kroger so that they can get everything at the lowest possible price, and they feel like it's a good use of their time. Some people still shop that way on Amazon. Most people don't. We've got overwhelming evidence that most people are saying, oh, you know what I forgot to buy? Yep, open up the Amazon app. Boom, that's the one that'll get the fastest. Got it. On the way. Oh, an hour later. You know what I should have ordered? I'm going to order this too. Hey, it's free shipping. Who cares that I didn't have my shopping list and do all my research? It's convenience shopping. It's one unit at a time shopping. That's how people shop now. And if you're not accommodating those shoppers by filling the underserved shelf space near those shoppers, you are missing out, my friend. There's a huge opportunity here. It's not about winning the buy box. It's about meeting the needs, the unmet, underserved population out there that's shopping, and they're busy. They do not care what the buy box is. They want it fast. And we got ample evidence of that. We got the tools coming. Hey, if all this is kind of new to you and it kind of sounded interesting and you want to go step by step and learn what it is I'm talking about here, you need to get into the Proven Amazon course, my friend. That's where the hundreds of success stories on our podcast have come from. I've interviewed hundreds of people on this podcast. We're approaching 1,000 episodes. The vast majority of them are interviews with proven Amazon course students who are succeeding. They tell their stories, share their strategies, tips, insights, pain points. We talk through the challenges. That's what this podcast is. A lot of times you've heard those episodes. If you haven't, scroll back and listen to them. If that starts to validate in your mind, hey, this is something I could do. What's your next step? Your next step is to go to provenamazoncourse.com. There's a link at silentjimdotcom to that course. Get it. $39 a month. It's our complete library of all of our Amazon training content, monthly webinars, new updates every month. Old courses are pulled out or replaced, updates and addendums added to courses and content, new modules coming. I mentioned we've got our proven discontinued sourcing that's come out recently. We've got new Amazon to Amazon flips content coming. Incredible discounts on our events, like the Proven Conference coming up at the end of May 2020. You want to be there in Orlando, Florida, the last 3 days of May. Great discounts for Proven Amazon course students to get into our events. So $39 a month really gets you into our community. If you want to go further faster, if you want to work with our team, we'll assign you a couple coaches and you're going to go as fast as your schedule will allow you to and your resources. That's our coaching program, working with a student from our community who has succeeded wildly, selling on Amazon, following the systems we teach. They've got some time in their schedule to help others out, so we give them a few students at a time. That's our coaching, our mentoring program. If you want to talk to us about that, go to silentjim.com/book a call. We'd love to have a conversation with you about any of our resources that I mentioned today, anything else that's on your mind. Let's map out your best course forward in e-commerce. We love what we do here. We love making a big difference and an impact on the families, the business building warriors of this community. It's not just about selling on Amazon. It's about your leadership journey into the business that you were designed to run, which will always involve more relationships, getting to know more people, making connections, learning new skills on the internet. That's what we do here. What's the benefit? You're going to have a great circle of friends and connections. You're going to have opportunities opening up to you all over the place. You're going to have multiple income streams. You're going to be building systems. It's a great thing to monitor and manage systems versus running in a hamster wheel, scanning barcodes and trying to flip things for $10 that you bought for $2. I don't want that for you. I want you to build a system. I want you to be on a leadership journey. That's what we do here. All right, that's enough. Hopefully I dropped some good Keepa gold nuggets of wisdom on you, some of the new changes that we've seen that we're very excited about, some very specific strategies. I went a little more in depth into training today. Give me some feedback. Let me know, did you like this episode? Leave me a review on iTunes if you enjoyed today's episode. Let me know what you thought. jump into our Facebook group. Let's get a discussion going on any of the topics from today. I'd love to help you. And remember that one link I gave you earlier, I'll stick it in the show notes too, silentjim.com/BB70, as in buy box. BB, the number 7, number 0. It's a 4-digit BB70. Go to that link. It takes you into our Facebook group to a post where we discuss all the stuff that I dropped on you today, including videos and examples, completely free. Just want to help you succeed. All right, let's build some beautiful businesses together. Make it a great rest of your week. God bless you, business building warrior. We're praying for you. We're in your corner. We're supporting you every possible way we can. Let's keep growing together. Talk to you soon.